Suicidal stalker makes the news, and she has previous. The story takes place around a year and a half ago, at the beginning of 2014. I had been split up with my ex-girlfriend for a few months and felt it was time to move on and find someone else. But I was, and still am, a relatively introverted guy, and I don't particularly care for the whole club scene, so I decided to try online dating for a while. Online dating seems to be a theme which recurs a lot on the subreddit, but let me just say that on the whole experience was good, and I even met my current girlfriend on the internet, so online dating is definitely not without its merits. However, after being on a small free dating website for a while, a girl popped up as being nearby. She lived about 20 minutes away from my house, looked relatively attractive, but her pictures were very low quality, red flag, and seemed intelligent without being overly pretentious. I shot her a message and she shot back. Things seemed good. We swapped numbers and spoke for a while, and she seemed relatively normal at this point. We didn't have any particularly deep conversations at all. She told me about her work, I told her about my studies, we spoke about music, etc., etc. Things then declined when we had been talking for a few weeks. As time went on, she became increasingly needy and would text me nonstop all day. If I didn't reply because I was busy, she would start crying and asked what she did to offend me. Definitely a red flag. Weeks went by, and she began revealing more and more of her strange personality. She would flit from extreme to extreme emotionally. One such example that sticks to my mind was me mentioning my ex. She went absolutely crazy about her, calling her almost every name under the sun. Now I can't remember why I did this, but I remember asking her for her email address and she gave it to me. This is important because it was a generic email including her first and last name. So I did what any Redditor would do and searched that into Facebook, and right there, her account popped up. And needless to say, the difference between pictures she had taken herself and those that she had been tagged in was remarkable. She was not heavier than the pictures on the dating website, but just looked more drained. Her skin was pale, almost grayish, and her eyes had a totally out of it, dazed stare to them. I'm not a shallow guy, but it did make my stomach sink a little. Now, I know what you're thinking. That was the end of it, right? Wrong. Because stupid me was lonely and didn't have anything else to do. So when this girl wanted to meet up, I swallowed my shallowness, is that even a word, and agreed to do it. I'd meet her, and we could spend some time together. On the morning we had planned, I didn't hear from her. She eventually texted me just before I left to cancel our arrangement and say that she had been in a hospital the night before with a heart attack. I freaked and asked if she was okay, and she said that she was fine, and that they managed to save her, etc. Now, I should say that, in the weeks prior to this, she had been becoming more and more dark and depressed, and I was the same. She was discussing suicide and self-harm, and it was dragging me down. I had really tried to cheer her up, but I needed support myself, not to be an emotional crutch for her. So eventually, I decided I couldn't do it anymore and told her that I wish her well. But I decided that I thought it was best that I didn't talk to her anymore. Remember I told you about her flitting from mood to mood? Well, every time I wanted to break things off, she went crazy, often threatening suicide and self-harm. I had been having my doubts about her since way before the Facebook discovery, but didn't want to kick a pathetic, lonely girl while she was down. However, her manipulation eventually led to a deep resentment. So when I told her I'd had enough, I wasn't thinking about her, I wanted her to leave me alone. She said that I was the only reason that she hadn't killed herself already, and that she was going to OD. I tried to call her, but she didn't answer, and I didn't know her address. I didn't sleep at all that night. When morning came, I checked every news source I could to no avail. There was no record of anyone ODing or dying by any means in her area. I checked her Facebook and saw her status and profile picture had changed that morning and didn't seem to be anything out of the ordinary. I got a text from her number that afternoon claiming to be her mother, saying that her body had been found and that I was invited to her funeral. The kicker? She had been commenting on Facebook posts happy the whole time I'd been receiving the text. I blocked her number and tried to forget it all ever happened. Until her name popped up in my head a few months after. I had no intention of talking to her, but decided to Google her name just out of curiosity, as it was a very unusual and strange sounding name. The first hit on her name was a news website, showing a story of how she had been given a restraining order for aggravated harassment of some other dude, including persistently threatening suicide and self-harm, sending texts, messages, and abusive calls. She also cut her wrist and smeared blood all over his door, windows, and car. So my ex-girlfriend is stalking me again. I'm going to warn everybody ahead of time. This might be a little bit lengthy as I have quite a bit to say, and well, a lot has happened over the last year when it comes to this girl. I'm going to start off by saying that I was with her on and off for almost 6 years. The on and off part should have been a good indication that I should have jumped ship a long time ago, but I was constantly allowing her to burrow back into my life. There really should be a subreddit called "Shit My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend Has Done" or something close to it. If there is, please let me know, because I've got enough stories involving this girl that I could write a book. Hell, maybe write a TV series. Anyway, on with the stalking. I'll start by giving you some information about our relationship and what caused me to break up with. I'll call her Crazy, as that's what she is. About 2 years ago or so, Crazy started calling me and texting me after we had broken up for close to 6 months. At first, I just suggested I was going to ignore her because I knew if I let her back, things would just go to hell. However, one night, I had been drinking and got this lame-ass sentimental feeling and decided to answer one of her texts. That was all it took. She started coming over, and eventually we ended up together again. We were together for close to 7 months before I finally got fed up with her bullshit and kicked her out of my apartment. She was physically abusive and a mental mind fuck. If I didn't let her use my car or whatever, or give her money when she claimed she needed it, or basically do whatever the hell she asked she wanted, she would have a tantrum like a 3-year-old and cause more drama than one person can endure. During our time together, she managed to get herself in some real trouble after she beat some guy over the head with a beer mug at a local bar we frequent. What really ended the relationship was when she started using meth and was bringing that shit into my home. I tried getting her help, but she turned it around on me, as if I was trying to change her. So I gave up and told her mother that she needed to get her daughter the fuck out of my place before I called the cops and had her removed. I told her that we were done, and I never wanted to hear from her again. At this point, I had given her multiple opportunities to change, but she refused and made it seem like I was the problem. Whatever, I was done. The problem was, she wasn't. The day I finally ended it was the beginning of her torment. She started her attack by creating a Craigslist ad under the escort section with a fake picture and my phone number as a contact. I received over 500 plus calls and text messages from random dudes looking to get laid. This lasted for about a week before shit calmed down. If that wasn't enough, the same night, while my phone is blowing up, I see the security guard from my apartment complex nosing around my car, shining his flashlight in the windows. I go outside and ask the guy, is there a problem? He responds, I got a report that this car is abandoned and needs to be removed. I'm just like, the fuck it does, that's my car, and I live in the apartment right over there. I ended up having to get my title and valid driver's license to keep this douche from calling a towing company and having my shit removed. Next day rolls around, still getting a massive amount of texts and calls through my whole workday, which was really pissing me off. I get home after work and sit down to try and relax when there's a knock at the door. I look through the peephole and see some dude I've never met before standing outside. I don't answer. I wait for him to leave and then look out my balcony and see this guy on his phone standing right out front. I yell at him, "Hey, can I help you?" He responds, is Crazy here?" I'm just like, "No, that's my ex and I kicked her out the other day. Maybe check her mom's house where she's staying." I ended up talking to this guy a little bit more. It turns out that she set up a dinner date with him and gave the guy my address as the address to where she was staying. That night, another 3 guys showed up looking to have a dinner date with her. I had work the next day, and while I'm there, she starts sending me texts, pictures of the outside of my apartment, with messages like, "It's quite breezy in the apartment, with your patio door open," and "I hope your dog finds his way back home, he got out." So needless to say, this shit is stressing me out. I'm almost positive that at the time it's bullshit, but there's always that chance Crazy actually broke in. I got home later to find my apartment the way I left it, but the pure mindfuck of it all is what's close to giving me a fucking ulcer. The whole time I'm ignoring her ass, hoping this shit will come to an end soon. Nope, it only escalates. Once again after work, I have a knock at my door while I'm watching TV. I check the peephole, and there's 2 police officers standing outside. I'm just thinking, now what the fuck? As I open the door, and I'm greeted by 2 relatively large gentlemen in uniform, with shitty looks on their faces. I'm just like, "Yes, can I help you?" "Are you..." my name, asks one of the officers. "Yes, is there a problem?" He replies, "Only if you consider raping a young woman a problem. Can you provide your whereabouts for the last 2 hours? I was fucking shitting myself, but responded, "Well, I just got home from work like 45 minutes ago. What do you mean rape? Who told you that?" This bitch really stepped up her game, calling in a false police report and getting the cops to come and question me about it. That's just fucking bold. The 2 cops responded, "I'm not at liberty to provide that information, but we'll need for you to provide some proof that you weren't in the gate area between the hours of 2 and 5 this afternoon." Now, I'm actually starting to get pissed knowing that I'm 100% innocent of this alleged rape. So I get kind of an attitude, which really didn't help my situation at the time. But I calmly responded, "If you want to, go to my place of work and verify that I was there until 4. That will prove that I had nothing to do with this, and furthermore, the person accusing me of this crime, are you going to arrest them for filing a false police report?" And what I heard next floored me. The cop says, "I'm not sure if it's a false report. Your car is still warm, and you look guilty." No fucking shit, my car is still warm. I just drove back from work less than an hour ago, Einstein. Some fucking awesome detective work, Chief. They left, but before doing so told me not to leave my apartment, as they would be back if my story didn't check out. Well, they never came back, and I called the police station multiple times to get an update on what they figured out. And you know what they fucking told me? No police report had been filed, and there was no record of any police being dispatched to my address on the day in question. How the fuck? I was seriously about to lose my shit. How can she continue to do this shit with no consequence? Mind you, I'm still getting texts and calls, less than in the beginning, but they were still coming. I think it was like a week or so, and shit was quiet, minus the calls and texts, but even those weren't all that heavy anymore. I started to think that she was done fucking with me and I might be able to live my normal life, drama-free. No. I stop at my mailbox after work about a week or so after the whole rape situation and receive a letter from the post office that said I had changed my address, but if this was incorrect, to contact them to stop the mail forwarding. So I call these guys and tell them I haven't moved, nor have I filled out a change of address form, so there's no reason to forward my mail elsewhere. They assure me that my mail will continue coming to my current address and that I had nothing to worry about. Well, they were all full of shit because I didn't get a piece of mail for 2 months after that day. It took 3 phone calls and 2 visits to the local post office to get that shit rectified. Now, had I been just not getting my mail, I wouldn't have been that pissed about it. But once my mail was forwarded to the address where Crazy was getting it, she used that as an opportunity to get all of my account information for my electric, gas, phone, cable, car, and banking information. I have extra security set up on my bank account, so that was safe. And my car payments weren't going away, but she managed to shut off my cable, my electric, and my gas. I got phone calls from my phone company stating that changes would be applied to my account if I hadn't called. I was pissed. I ended up paying an extra $300 in fees to get my gas and electric bills put back into my name, mainly because my apartment complex ended up paying the balances of both accounts and charged me for that shit. This shit was getting to be all too much. I tried calling the cops and they just asked if I had gotten a restraining order. I explained that I tried, but she continued to evade being served, and after a period of time, if the person isn't served, the restraining order is no good. Their response was, "We can't help you." Well, thank you. Can't help me, but you can follow up on a false police report and then ignore that shit like it never happened? Gotta fucking love the cops out here. However, I got a break. If you remember, she was arrested for smoking some dude over the head multiple times with a beer mug, right? Well, she finally had gotten convicted and was given 3 months in jail for it. 3 fucking months, are you kidding me? There's no way in hell I could go out and beat some guy with a glass object all willy-nilly and not go away for at least a year, if not longer. But somehow, she squeaked by with ease. Either way, that meant peace and quiet for at least that period of time. I was watching her status in jail online from time to time to make sure her ass was still locked up, when one day I checked and she had been released 2 days prior. In my head, I screamed fuck as loud as humanly possible and started to get paranoid about what this girl might do next. Weeks went by and nothing. Finally, she's done, given up. Or so I thought. A few weeks ago, it started with a text. A picture of a pregnancy test that showed positive. It came from a number I had never seen before, so I wasn't sure who it was. But I had my suspicions. Figuring it was her, I texted back saying, "Ha ha ha ha. Finally, any ties to you and I are broken. Have fun with the poor schmuck who knocked up your crazy ass." I got a response. "You obviously don't know who this is," which was true and really got me thinking, considering I had talked to a few other women since being with the ex. Either way, I ignored it and hoped it would just go away. Over the next week after that, I kept getting texts. Only that one picture, nothing else. Once again, kept ignoring until I got another text. This time, it was a picture of a woman holding her stomach, showing that she was pregnant, minus the head. That there told me it was my ex, as we had actually tried to have a kid, but were never able to. So I responded back, "Awesome, have a good life with whatever schmuck you managed to get to impregnate you. Thank fucking Christ it wasn't me. Now kindly fuck off. She replied back with stupid insults that were irrelevant to the story, and I just ignored it, figuring she'd done what she wanted, rubbed in the fact that I could possibly be sterile, which to me, that shit is a win-win. I can't have kids, and now she's got other shit to deal with that will keep her from bothering me. A week or so went by, and it's last week Thursday. I'm the type of person that tends to do shit the last minute, so when it comes to waking up in the morning to get to work, I sleep as late as possible, so when I get to my car I need to leave right away or else I could end up being late. So I headed to my car and noticed something stuck to it. There's 3 magnets on my car with stupid ass slogans. I think one said something about being a cat lady or some dumb shit. I really didn't pay attention as I peeled them off because I needed to get to work. What I did notice is the bitch super glued the fuckers to my car, so it wasn't easy getting them off. And I still have remnants of magnet on my car. That wasn't the worst of it. And to explain the second part, I must first tell a short story. I explained how Crazy got into using meth. Well, one day, when I allowed her to use my car, she went to her brother's at his apartment. They got into an argument. He owed her some meth. He didn't have the meth. She thought he did. In turn, the brother wanted to leave, and in an attempt to stop him, the bitch used my car to barricade him in. And when she did, he got out and kicked my driver's side window, and then got back into his truck and proceeded to run into my car until she moved out of the way. So, I didn't have a driver's side window for the longest time. He didn't have insurance and is a fucking tweaker, so getting money for him to fix the window was pretty much impossible. I'm also lazy and do things at the last minute, so I never got it fixed. The weather in California allows me to drive around with a broken window and not worry about the interior of my car getting ruined. Anyway, back to last week Thursday. I now have a magnet stuck to my car, and I'm about to get in when I see approximately 5 pounds of dog shit with open condoms just chilling on my driver's seat. You've got to be fucking kidding me, I think to myself, as I start to look for something to clean this shit literally out of my fucking car. There was a plastic bag on the ground, so I grabbed it, and thankfully the shit was dry, so I was able to quickly get it off the seat. I'm sure I still ended up sitting on some of it, but I didn't have the time to waste, as I was already late and needed to get my ass to work. I got there and told my boss. Thankfully, he's a cool guy and let me take the first half an hour of work to clean it out completely. Needless to say, I have replaced the driver's side window on my car. Now I wait, wonder what the fuck this girl has in store for me next. My guess, something even more fucked up. Now, I know I'm going to get 2 questions. The first, why I haven't changed my phone number, and the second, why haven't I moved? To answer the first, I have too many people that know my current number, and I'm not gonna let that bitch win by inconveniencing myself and changing it. Second, I plan on moving but don't have the greatest rental history, so breaking my lease wouldn't help that in any means. So I'm sticking it out and hoping Crazy just fucks off. Waking to a gun at my face. Preface. This took place a decade ago, but the memories are hard to dig up. I'm imposing a time limit for myself to type this in, so as not to drag recalling this trauma out. I'm probably going to have nightmares tonight. This won't be polished, substance over style basically. A sincere thanks for the opportunity to let this stuff out. Thanks for reading. Apologies for the occasional bad words. I was a teenager going through the worst time of my life. Had dealt with depression since I was a child. However, towards the end of high school, it hit me hard. Combination of hormones and social problems at school? No easy answer. Let's just say it was hell. I chose to finish the last chunk of senior year enrolled in homeschool, while attending a computer trade school weekdays. Had more free time to cope and study things I liked. It was working a little better for me. The point of this introductory paragraph is to let you know that I was almost unable to really care too much about myself at this time. I accepted negativity in my life as absolute fate. I felt I had no control. Please keep this in mind while reading. I met my ex hanging out with a friend of a friend one night. Could tell that she liked me. Didn't think much of it at first. Ran into her again. Ended up giving her my phone number out of indifference. After her calling, talking me for a few times, we hung out, got drunk, began a terrible relationship. Again, out of indifference and her persistence. Things started out a little off, but ex's behavior worsened. It started to gradually show. So what you're reading in a few paragraphs took place over the course of about 1 year. First sign of oh shit, about 3 weeks of officially being together. Ex shows up at my house with some liquor. Says, I have something to show you. Acting like this is completely normal. Shows up my name tattooed on the back of her neck. I'm like, holy shit. She had no other ink. I was speechless. Just got drunk. Thought, what the fuck have I gotten into? I knew this was a terribly bad sign, but I just didn't know what to do. Hoping for any kind of normalcy in life, so let the relationship continue. It got worse and worse. More controlling behavior emerged. Ex discovered an old picture of me with my ex-girlfriend at a friend's house. She asked my friends for her name. After this, she got much worse. She began to get furious on a few occasions when we saw a woman in public with the same hair color as my ex. Anytime a character on a TV show or a movie had my ex's name, she would go into a rage. Eventually, this got to the point where she would hear that name and freak out, grabbing the nearest sharp object and begin cutting herself. Things were getting worse and worse. I wanted out, but the emotional blackmail began with ex showing up outside my window at night, knife to her wrist, demanding I let her in and stay the night. I was terrified and helpless. Knew for a fact that she would hurt herself without any hesitation. Things like this have happened more and more often. She would fly into jealous rages over imagined glances at other girls. In an attempt to cope, I got a full-time job while finishing school. Every work break, she demanded I call her from the payphone in front. If I didn't, she'd hurt herself. A couple times I didn't call, she showed up at my work, obviously causing big problems for me there. When we were together, if I mentioned something like, I helped this woman carry her stuff to her car at work, she would freak out and accuse me of cheating, screaming that I was fucking other girls, etc., and do things like dash outside, run to an adjacent vacant lot, pick up old broken shards, and began shredding her arms. If I dug up all these types of instances, and there were many more, I could really just continue for a long time. Still, hopefully you get the point. Keep in mind, X was a great manipulator. I was great at being manipulated, and these kinds of behaviors took a while to manifest, and they built up. Eventually, because of this shit, I lost my job. I just had finished school too, so now I was pretty much forced to be with X every waking minute. It was unbelievable. I had no alone time. I was trapped, and I finally had enough sense to know that it had to end. The stress of dealing with these situations, along with my already fucked up and declining mental health, began to occasionally cause me to have seizures, auditory hallucinations, etc. It was only during this dark period of my life that I have ever experienced this type of thing. I finally ended it. I had to. Called her one morning and just flat out said, I'm breaking up with you. X started screaming hysterically. I knew saying those words ensured I'd have to endure a lot of terrible stuff for a while, but I had to escape. So I dealt with a couple weeks of her calling me daily all the time. I unplugged the phone, and the next day she's banging on my door. I call her mom, and her mom says, just call the cops, which I do, but X leaves. Basically, they tell me, okay, so she's knocking on your door and calling you a lot. Not much we can do. Please go get a restraining order if you want her to not come around. I knew that wouldn't do shit, so I didn't do that. Of course now, I think it couldn't have hurt. Well, she began lying to my mom, showing up saying she was having my baby. Knew it was a lie. Seemed to finally chill out for a couple days, but I would find weird letters and gifts on my doorstep. Throw them away, delete all voicemails she'd leave, so my mom wouldn't hear them. Things escalated. Woke up one morning, feeling something moving. Something on top of me. I opened my eyes to see a black handgun pointed at my face. Terrified. X is threatening me and saying we have to be together. If we can't, one of us has to die. She points the gun at her head and puts the finger on the trigger. I'm talking her down, lying, saying, okay, no, don't do this. I love you. Any and everything possible to defuse this. This was like waking up to a real nightmare, Jesus. Anyways, I somehow slip out of my room saying, let me use the restroom. I call the cops. They arrived fast. I'm still in the bathroom. Cops come, pistols drawn outside my bedroom. They're like, go in the other room. I do. It was a fucking fake handgun. God, I mean, the terror I felt was real, but the way they deal with this was to push her down and make X smash it on the pavement. They're like, okay, see? That's better. Don't be doing that stuff. Fat cop tries to give me some advice and pretty much tells me, look, we told you to get a restraining order, so do it. And take her away. I hoped it was over. But X calls me later that night, says, hey, they took me to county mental health. They let me out. The woman I talked to said I wasn't crazy. You can't stop me. I know you love me and we have to be together. And then I hung up. You might be thinking that the cops handled this badly. They did. I probably did also, and also these memories are bad and fuzzy, with quite a few gaps. Okay, I have to finish typing soon. Next night I wake up to pee. Hear noises in the guest room next to the bathroom. I could have sworn I locked everything, but I'm like, fuck, I know who it is. So I quietly look around the corner, through the open doorway into the room. I can see X had slid under the bed. She's hiding, just laying completely still. I say, look, I'm calling the cops right now, and run to the phone. I'm dialing. She grabs me and puts a knife to my throat. I swing back over my shoulder and knock her in the side of the head. She drops the knife and runs out of my house. Honestly, I can't remember what happened after that too well. Called cops, filed a report. They went looking for her and just have finally fucking done something about it, as I never saw or dealt with X again. Still in awe at my own inability to get the fuck out of that relationship sooner, but hey, was just completely messed up at the time. Got help after that, dealt with depression, got that shit on padlock, and I'm pretty much a healthier person and stuff. However, yes, 10 years later, I still have occasional nightmares with X in them. Quick little epilogue. I've already gone past my allotted time in typing this. Please don't be too critical of my behavior asking why I didn't do this and that at the time. Going back over this stuff, I'm already just asking myself why so much. Thanks for your time. Be nice to me. It was very hard to share. Edit. Wow, I'm blown away with all your love and concern in the comments. Would love to respond to everyone individually, but can't as I'm very busy. Thankfully, I got a great family, have gone through lots of personal growth, positive changes, therapy, etc. Over the years, I've been doing great, able to have loving, healthy, normal relationships. If I don't respond to your comment, please know that I did in fact read it, and sincerely appreciated it.